And welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. Joining me right now is Yannis and Russ. This is our full-time show, our initial reaction to Fulham's 3-1 loss to West Ham. It's an unfortunate loss. We're going to talk about that, me and Yannis. If you are watching live, please feel free to share your comments on this loss for Fulham. Also want to mention, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are live right now on YouTube, so feel free to subscribe there. It helps other Fulham supporters and supporters of other clubs find us as well. Also going to be mentioning this for a while. Cottage Talk is now part of the talkSPORT fan network. This is a great situation for us, and we'll see where this takes us. But I also want to mention we are part of this network now. A bunch of great podcasts are going to be a part of. It's going to be great. Okay. Yannis, over to you. Let me just start by getting your initial thoughts on this disappointing 3-1 loss. I thought Fulham played well at times, especially in the first half. I thought there were points to be had here, my friend. That's what's disappointing here. Your opening thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I liked West Ham because I can't stand them. And forever blowing bubbles, I know what they can do with that. I thought it was one of those games that once we look at the tape, I think that Marco Silva was apoplectic. After the second and third, the penalty and the second goal. Once the dust settles, I think it'll give them a lot more fuel, because there were a few wretched calls that were intermingled to, I thought, what was a decent performance against the West Ham side, who I thought were very ordinary, especially for 2025.
That's how I feel about this, Yannis. And yeah. I'm not trying to take anything away from their victory here. I just feel that Fulham were at the same level. I don't think that West Ham are a better side than Fulham. They won today, so congratulations to them. But I look forward to Fulham playing West Ham at Craven Cottage. I really do, because I want to see how they react from this first match, because I thought they were the equal to them without Mitro, without Kenny Tete, performance-wise. But, it wasn't their day, and credit to West Ham. They took advantage of the opportunities when they had them. Fulham didn't. So they get all 3 points. But if I'm looking at it team against team, Fulham, I truly feel were not overmatched. Yannis, is that a good way to put this? I don't feel they were overmatched here. In fact, I thought especially in the first half, thought they controlled the match.
Yeah, I thought we were very good for 2025. Pereira scores an absolute wonder goal. James hits the crossbar, and mind you, Leno made a brilliant
fantastic
match. Yeah, but I didn't think we were. I mean, I thought we were. We took the lead, and we were knocking about on the back, and they looked rather clueless. West Ham. They didn't really look as though they were going to create anything. I still think they're a very ordinary side. They've spent a lot of money. I'm not really sure. I don't think they have many players that you can call quality. Bowen is one that sticks out. Declan Rice was nullified really in the first half, but in terms of what our midfield three did. But it swung. The game has swung on an awful call, and I know that a lot of Fulham fans are crapping on Pereira. And you could say, well, should Marco Silva have done a switch with the corner kick that led to the supposed infraction? But if you're going to give penalties for that, there'll be 10 penalties a day. And he's run into Pereira. Dawson's run into Pereira.
We'll talk about that. Let's hold off, because I want to go into more detail on that, Yannis.
Yeah,
as we get into this, because I want to really dive down into that whole situation. But I just want to get an initial reaction, and certainly that's a part of the story. Talking about the goal, the penalty, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the second one as well for West Ham, because if I'm just looking at performance-wise, I told you off air, I thought performance-wise, I thought Fulham more than held their own. And I'm just going to share this tweet from our friend Peter Rutzler at The Athletic, because I think this says a little bit of the performance. So get your thoughts if you agree or disagree with Peter's thoughts here. This is what Peter Rutzler tweeted after the match. Full-time 3-1, Fulham will feel hard done by, not because of the nature of the first two goals conceded, but because they have played well in decent spells here, felt like there were points on offer today. Frustration of full-time, but not about the performance. Yannis, do you agree or disagree with Peter there? Because he is not really hard done by the performance. He's not frustrated by the performance. I'm not either. How do you feel about this? You told me off air you needed to think about that for a bit.
Yeah, we're going to play games. We're going to play in games where we don't play particularly well and we nick a point or three. And we're playing games like this where we've played decent and for some or inane reasons, we've not got anything out of it. I thought there were some very good individual performances today, and I thought I liked the setup. And remembering, Wilson's just come back from injury, Salomon's out, Tete's out.
We're going to get healthy here.
We're going to get healthy here. Chalobah won't be the nearest. He'll come to Craven Cottage, probably the planet of Jupiter. I think Darren Bent might be closer right now. Overall, I mean, I thought the application was good. The third goal was a bit comical, and that can happen. Tired legs, they worked hard. I get it, but overall, I thought we played pretty well. I thought the intermingling of positions was good. It was interchangeable. It foxed them in the first 20-25, and they looked very, very ordinary. And I liken it to 2 years ago. The fluidity of what I saw today was encouraging. We've got our friends from Dean Court and up at Villa Park the next two games, and we should have some healthy bodies back by then. And I'm expecting us to do well in those two games if we can carry on that application. But as I said to you before the show, everybody has to do their job, and it includes the officials.
Okay.
There's no point having VAR if I say in cricket, if I consult with an umpire because I'm not sure about something, it's about making the right call. It's the objectivity of making that right call.
Just get it right. That's you and I have said this about VAR.
Yeah.
Just get the call right.
Get the call right.
That's all we care about.
And don't take 7 years to do it. Just get the call right. But today we've again been faced with a situation where many fans are going to come away thinking, what if? And Silva was up and played. He got a yellow card. I'm surprised he didn't get a red. I don't blame him. I'd have done the same thing. Absolutely. Even Harrison Reed got a yellow card for dissent. You can see when he came off, he's pissed off. Do you know what we're doing here? Like, what sort of game is being called here? The game gets played on the field. Yes. The best refs are the ones that are never noticed. Always been the way. And it's a shame because I thought it was a good game. I thought it was a good game. It was an entertaining game.
I thought it was an even game.
Yeah, it was an even game, and there was some good quality and to and fro, great stadium to play at. I thought both teams came out with credit, but we can't keep having these issues where we're questioning the officials. Chalobah last week was a red. I've not spoken to anyone who thought it wasn't. That's the right call.
Right.
After VAR has checked it. Done. We lose. But today, I'm scratching my head. So,
Okay, my friend. We're going to get to that in just a second. Before we do, let's talk about what was going through your mind an hour before the match. Let's get to the starting 11. And when I saw it, and I just assumed at that point when I saw it, well, first of all, I had been encouraged by the fact that Anthony Robinson was included. So that to me was a huge boost for Fulham.
Yes.
Not so much with Kenny Tete because I think that caused this other issue, meaning what do you do at right back? They decide to go with Bobby Decker over Reed. Now, here's the thing, Yannis, and I actually saw someone mention this, and I thought about it when I saw this tweet as well. What does this say about Kevin and Babu that you have Marco Silva deciding to go with Bobby Decker Reed as your right back? Is that an indictment on him, or is it just the fact that Marco feels more comfortable with Bobby Decker Reed because he really is a jack of all trades? He can do all kinds of things. He's not a master of any position, but he is someone that can help you in so many different ways. I think Bobby Decordova-Reid is extremely valuable to Fulham, regardless of how he performed today, positively or negatively. The fact that you can count on him at right back is great. But my first thought was, well, why not Kevin and Babu at right back? Obviously, the situation with Mitro, I was kind of given a little warning that he was potentially not going to play, and that turned out to be what I had heard. And fine. I thought that gives Vinicius an opportunity to show what he can do. We'll talk about his performance in a bit. What was going through your mind an hour before the match?
That Silva thinks that Mbabu is poo. Let's go back 7 days.
Okay.
Kazawa, first 5 minutes, put a couple of tackles in, but you could tell he hadn't played for 2 years.
Yeah.
Babu was nowhere. He was looking like he looked like he was playing as a de facto centre back. He looked absolutely lost. In fact, I kept thinking, has he ever played at right back before? He doesn't look like he has. The thing with Bobby Decordova-Reid, I know he's got his detractors, but he's the jack of all trades. And the only position he's probably not played is in the net. And I think I'd probably trust that he'd do a half decent job. I mean, he's a super lad, and
so valuable.
And when I saw the lineup and I saw him a right back, I thought, okay, that's fine. I can trust because he's disciplined in terms of position. He's good enough to come forward. He can pass a ball. You know, he communicates with his teammates. He's not a rigid player, and he's better than the backup right back we've got. And Babu shouldn't be anywhere near the squad. He shouldn't be. I can't believe that is a silver signing. I don't believe that's a silver signing. I don't care if he's played for Switzerland, Liechtenstein, San Marino Bees, or Kilmarnock's under-5 team. He's woefully out of place. So when I saw reading, I thought, okay, he'll do a job.
Yep,
he'll do a job, and he did do a job. He did do a job, and you've got. I mean, you could. Some would argue, well, why don't you bring Diop in for a game like this? Because Diop is going to be so fired up.
They mentioned that on the broadcast. Tony Gale mentioned that, I believe.
Yeah, you put him at right, but then again, I think this is where I think that's the mark of good management, where he said, no, I'm not going to let emotion dictate this. I'm not going to say, okay, well, it's Diop playing against his old team. No, I'm going to play what I think is the best 11. And Decordova-Reid, I think, has played really well this year, and I think that you want to find him a spot in the squad. He's a team man. We know that. So he was in the midfield three. Palhinha coming back. That's great. Vinicius, really. I mean, he's really about the only person you can put up top. You got Naskins, and you got Daniel James, who didn't really get a chance to show his speed, but I thought he actually did a decent job tracking back today, and it's going to take him some time. But overall, the 11, I could deal with it, and the bench, nowhere near as deep as the.
Well, that was the problem, Yannis. Yeah. When you look at the differences between the two sides, their benches, it was night and day. And
of course,
they mentioned that on the broadcast. We all know this. We could talk about depth. We could do shows on the lack of depth Fulham have partially because of injury. You could also make the argument partially because of the transfer window. We could go there too. But that really, I think, showed itself, obviously, in this match. Maybe it showed itself in the last couple matches. As a starting 11, when Fulham are completely at full steam ahead, I think they can compete with almost every team except for Man City. I think they can do that. But when you start losing players and you start losing important players like Fulham did today, I thought they managed it about as good as you could, but you're just not as good as you could be if you had, say, more depth. So I understand the argument about depth, my friend. Okay, let's not waste any more time. We've got a ton of comments on it. Let's get to it because, well, actually, let's wait to talk about their goal. Let's talk about the Pereira goal because this, to me, Fulham had started bright. I want to start on a positive here. Let's talk about Pereira's goal, my friend, because for all we're going to talk about the situation with Andres Pereira, we have to talk about his goal. This is a fantastic goal. I heard the argument that the goalkeeper should have done better. How about this maybe was just a fantastic goal from Pereira?
Well, I think Zuma deserves a lot of criticism because I think he wasn't close enough to Pereira. It was a nice move down that left with Robinson, and I believe it was Decordova-Reid. And I know I'm going to get criticised for this, but so be it. It's coming. Fabianski is the worst goalkeeper in the Premier League. I've never, ever, ever rated him. And that's a shot. It's a cracking shot. Don't get me wrong.
It is.
But he's got to get a hand to it.
Okay.
It's gruesome goalkeeping. Having said that, you could see the emotion of Pereira when he scored the goal. He's been a really pleasant surprise since coming over from Brazil. And he works his absolute socks off. And that's why I was I'm hesitant to criticize him for the penalty, because people are quick to jump on him for it. But if you watch his work rate, he and
Harrison Reed are everywhere.
And Palhinha they really are everywhere.
They're everywhere.
And I thought Pereira played very well today. Now, it's a cracking goal. But Zuma, who I don't rate either, to be honest. I think Dawson is the engine back there. Zuma's nowhere near him, and he's just gone bollocks. I'm just going to hit it, and he's hit it.
Okay.
And I think that 8 out of 10 goalies would have stopped that, but it's gone in, and we've taken deservedly because I thought we started on the front foot. We came out with intent, and it continued after that, and we were the better side. And had James's cracking shot off the crossbar, because Fabianski was well beaten. If that's gone in,
hits the crossbar.
Yeah, then I think it's 2-0, and then I think it's over, because I really didn't see anything early on from West Ham. Looked tired, and yet only 2 of those players played in the
Europa League conference.
Europa League conference on Thursday. So they should have a fresh team. But we came out quickly, and hence the early goal.
Right, and let's also mention the free kick from Pereira. That was a decent free kick. It was a save. A save that a goalkeeper should make. But again, another opportunity. So there were opportunities here for Fulham, and they were certainly on the front foot. Then West Ham do come in a bit, and here's why we should be happy we have Bernd Leno, because he made some key saves in the first half overall, Yannis. On Skamaka, who was dangerous. Let's just call what it is. He scores a goal. We'll talk about his controversial goal. Yes, it's a controversial goal. I know West Ham supporters will be watching it, but it's extremely controversial. We'll talk about that in a bit. But he was, I thought, very good in this match and had some opportunities, but Bernd Leno was up for the challenge. Okay, let's not waste any time, because I'm sure everyone wants us to talk about this, my friend. Let's talk about the penalty for West Ham. I'll set this up. Pereira, again, was warned twice. We know this, was warned twice. And with Dawson, he was warned twice. So then the situation arises, and I think the first view I had, it looked like he went down like a sack of potatoes. He went down fairly easy, but it looked like he was taken down like in a wrestling match. But when I watched it over again and I thought about it, and I do think about these things, my friend, intent. I think about intent. And I'm going to ask you this. I understand why the penalty was given. I understand for the criticism for Pereira. But let's talk about the West Ham player. Did he do a first-rate Hollywood acting job to gain his team a victory here? Because let's just say this just changed the match.
Well, yes. Cavan has done the right thing by stopping the play to warn Pereira. I think that was positive refereeing. I'm going to give him credit for that. I think that he's seen something that's fine. But if you look at any corner kick routine in a box, you will have anywhere between 10 and 16 players in there.
Yep.
Can any referee alive tell me on this show right now, is there anyone out there that can tell me that at least half of the players in the box who are defending a corner kick are looking at the ball when the ball is coming over? That's the problem for me, because you're marking the man, and we see it every game. We see it every Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We see it every game. We see this. So I found it suspicious, because the challenge that got the penalty was far less egregious than the first two challenges. Dawson's run into him.
Yep.
No wonder our players are apoplectic, because this is part of the game. It's not like he rugby tackled him. He's run into him.
Okay.
If anything, it could have been a free kick the other way.
Okay.
So he's given him two warnings, and I'm dead. Now, we could have switched it. I mean, we could have said, all right, so Rima, you go over there, you take Dawson, he's great in the air.
Right.
Okay, Pereira, you come round. Fine. But then it's almost like Kavanagh was looking for the penalty. He was looking to give it. The speed at which he gave it was worrying.
It was very quick, Yannis, but
very quick, yeah.
I do want to share this because, again, you have praised Pereira, but I don't think you're praising this situation. So let's just share this from Gary Cooper. Chalaba and Pereira's being defended by people in wrong. They showed lack of professionalism and changed the two games. Now, you're not, based on what we're talking about from Gary here, you're not backing Pereira because, again, he's been warned. You're more talking about the situation at hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's somewhere where, because it's the Premier League, you got to use a modicum of common sense as an official.
Pereira should not have put himself in that situation. So I'm going to say that.
Yeah, and I agree. No, I agree. But then if you look back at Chalaba, that wasn't a lack of professionalism. That was just stupid. That's 7-8 minutes in, and you're going into a tackle like that. You're going into a 30-70 challenge that you're not going to get to. I don't care how quick you think you are. And you got red carded. I'm not complaining with that. You can't complain with last week's game.
No, absolutely
because we got done because of a daft decision. You put yourself down to 10 men and you lose to Newcastle. Fine. But in this one, you could look at a host of these situations where there's manhandling, there's pulling a shirt, pulling a short, pulling a socks, pulling whatever bollocks you want to bring in.
Right.
And the speed with which Kavanagh called that was really it wasn't even, I don't even think it was the penalty. It's really what set our players off and the coaching staff. Because it's like, well, he's run towards him. So Dawson knows one slight misstep and it's a penalty. He's not a fool. He's an experienced pro. Now, Silva will talk to Pereira after the game.
Right.
He's going to say, now look, you heed the warnings. But he'll.
I think that's the part that is upsetting supporters, Yannis, is that he was warned twice. I understand we're looking at the other side of it too. We want to be fair on both sides to talk about how he was, and again, the situation at hand on the other side, the player for West Ham, Dawson, and of course the referee. But if you're warned twice, you have to be very careful here.
But I'm struggling to think, and somebody watching this or listening to this might be able to help us. When's the last time you saw a penalty given for an infraction like that?
It's a great question because this happens. Like I've seen people comment on this all the time. All the time.
It's right. It's almost like you got whatever, 50, 60, 70,000. Anyway, watching the game in a big stadium, and it's almost like he got spooked. It was a spooked decision, and it destroyed the game because until that point, they had a couple of chances. I didn't really think they were going to get back into it.
I thought Fulham were the better side up to that point.
We're the better side. And then all of a sudden now you've changed the momentum, changed it completely, and now you've got everybody upset. And then you've shown that you're targeting Pereira by calling Ream over.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And saying, well, have a word with... No, because now you're showing it's personal. The point of being an official is you have to be impartial. You have to be objective. There must be no ties to either team. Belichick, do your job. And it wasn't done. Yeah. And you could say, well, he was warned twice. Christ almighty, how many, I'm just trying to think, who got the right back? Keller, 3,000 the first 10 minutes, should have been a yellow card. Was there any warning there?
Nothing.
No.
Nothing.
So now you're inconsistent. And if you're bad,
I was going to say,
consistent.
This ref was not consistent at all. I think that's also part of the problem. I'm going to share this from Steve Reynolds. I want to get your thoughts. He writes, Andreas took a step back and Dawson runs into him. Is that how you saw that, Yannis?
That's exactly what happened. And it's not like I'm saying, well, we're going to end up being second from bottom and we're going to be in relegation. I think we're going to be just fine. But I agree. I find it absurd that you've got these situations. We've got 2 more games today, and you're going to see this again and again.
Yeah.
If that's the case, let's talk about the comeback up at Forest. When Mitra threw the pick for Tosin to run around the back to score the header to get the equalising goal.
Yes.
Is that a free kick? Because if you're talking,
no, but that's a similar
situation.
That's actually a very good point, because if you're looking at a comparison, you would have to go back to that. And it's funny because on the broadcast they were mentioning that. But if you start doing all of these situations like that, then as Ibrahim says, I agree with Yannis. That first pen is a farce. Dawson clearly runs into Andreas. You'll have 5, 6, 7 pens every game if this is the case. And it's a good point. It's a good point. And I'm not trying to take away from the victory for West Ham. They did what they had to do to win, but this changes the game, Yannis. As I said, this sets up the victory. You could say, if you're a West Ham supporter, your team was better. Yeah, overall, because they did what they had to do to win the match. But when you look at 2 controversial goals and the third goal, and I'm actually going to agree with my friend Gary Cooper here, because he said that the third goal, let me just see if I can find Gary's comment. He said the third goal given up. Well, that was pathetic. There's no question about that, Gary. I can't find your comment, but you had mentioned that you thought the third goal giving up was, I agree with that. But beyond that, Yannis, and I'll say it again, performance-wise, I don't think West Ham were any better than Fulham. In fact, I thought in long stretches of this match, Fulham were the better side. A call, an important call, a controversial call changes the match, and then another one just makes it even worse. And we'll talk about that. But just give me your thoughts as we go a little bit forward. We spent a lot of time on this. Just analyze the first half as a whole.
I thought it was a very even first half. I thought we dominated it for long stretches, and then they came on. They've got the equalising goal. They've got the momentum. They've got the crowd blowing the bubbles. But at half time, I thought, okay, it's 1-1. We've given enough. We've shown enough impetus in this game to say that we can come out with at least a point. We know they've got a deeper bench, but Silva's going to have to be a little bit brave in terms of his substitutions and when he does it. I don't think there's anybody that played badly in that first half. I don't believe anybody played badly. It was good to see Robinson back. I thought,
yes.
I've been looking at the BBC ratings and Robinson fans are thinking, and I think they're harsh. I think he did okay.
Wait a minute. I haven't seen it yet, Yannis.
Yeah.
I thought, especially in the first half, I thought he played very well. I thought he showed what Fulham had been missing. So I've not seen the ratings.
Yeah, so I thought he did. And having Tete back will certainly help.
Okay.
But there's a couple of things in the second half near the end that I think we need to, as players, Silva may launch into the lads at training in terms of, even late in the game, you have to think about the position and think about what you need to do when changes are made. And there was one situation in particular which sort of galled me a little bit because it showed that we weren't thinking, whereas West Ham were. And I think that's probably the experience of them playing the Premier League and having the players that they have.
Okay. All right. Okay, my friend, let's now move to the second half and let's talk about another controversial goal. And it's the second goal, my friend. And to West Ham's credit, they did come out strong. So I want to mention that. But I still felt that Fulham were well into this match. And I thought the longer it went, I thought it actually benefited Fulham. I thought they could definitely get something out of this match. But the second goal, now we've seen the replays of this. Bobby Decordova-Reid actually plays him onside. So I thought at first he was offside. He acted like he was offside, but now we find out that it had to do with a handball. This goes to VAR. They were checked not just to see if he was offside, but potential handball. Yannis, I've watched this several times. Is this handball?
I don't think it was offside.
Oh.
I do think it was offside.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm going on, because when they showed the angle of the camera here,
it's close.
Scamacca had his right arm out further. That's the first thing I thought. Oh, it's off. That's why he reacted.
See, that's why I thought he reacted that way.
Off. He thought it was. The off.
I don't think it was about the handball. I thought he
No.
reacted like that because he thought he was offside.
That's right. But then the balls come. Okay, I'm not going to take anything away from the finish. It's a superb finish. Let's go. It was. It was a super finish. It's good because that save by Leno in the 17th minute really should score 9 times out of 10. It's a brilliant save, but he should score. But the ball has bounced onto his fingers. Why do we know? It's changed direction and spun.
Exactly.
Then it's bounced onto his elbow. So you've got 2 infractions.
Exactly.
And now actually you've got 3, because if you look at that VAR, the offside line, he's off. There's 3.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Now, this is a decision that is made by VAR and not a decision that is made by the ref. This is a decision that's made by VAR. It's a home match. I know they're not there. They're not on site. But are they influenced by the fact that this match is at West Ham? They're human. Does that come into play when they're looking at calls like this?
I hope to God not.
Because it shouldn't, right?
Oh my God. And I look.
I'm just throwing it out there because I'm thinking there are 2 different things to look at. And both of the parts of this went the side of West Ham. Both. And they're both kind of controversial.
Well, so we live in North America. So we have VAR for NFL. We have video for baseball. We have it for hockey. We have it for soccer. We have it for cricket. We have it for rugby. The reason I mention, let's take MLS out. So that's 6, right? Those 6 major leagues. And I'm struggling with the number of times we've had replay where they've gone upstairs, where they've got it wrong. I know as an umpire, a cricket umpire, we joke if a batsman, a fielder thinks that a batsman has been caught by little Nick, and I'll go, no, that's not out. And then a couple of fielders will look and laugh and go, upstairs, because we don't have that, obviously, right?
Right.
And we laugh about that. But in those 6 sports that I've mentioned, they get the calls right. Now, I actually think that the best one for the sport for that is actually rugby union, because what happens is you've got that direct line between the rugby ref and the television booth or whatever they're doing, the VAR, and they're explaining to them, and the fans can hear it. And then the referee can explain to the players with a mic exactly why the decisions have been given. So and that comes back down to 2 things: transparency and accountability. The fans are the ones that pay big money to go and watch the teams play.
Right.
The players are paid lots of money, but they want to win. There's sponsors, there's shareholders, there's international fans like this. So many people have a vested interest. And at the end of the day, you want that right call. So I know I'm going to get yelled at about the notion. I've got the notion that there were 3 infractions, but if you dismiss the offside, let's say you dismiss the offside, you've got 2. You mean to tell me that VAR couldn't judge on one of them?
Well, that's the whole thing about this, Yannis. And like I said, when it comes down to situations like this, and I just want to share this because I do agree with Gary on this. Decisions, even out of West Ham, were robbed at Chelsea early this season. Okay, fine. But we're just looking at one particular situation that changed the match. In this match, could Fulham get calls that go their way? Yeah, of course. I'd like to think that things do even itself out. But we are looking at this particular situation that once again changed the match. 2 decisions changed the match. And let's just say 2 VAR decisions, because the penalty was reviewed by VAR as well. So it's 2 ref and VAR decisions changed the match. And of course, like we mentioned earlier, we were also focusing on what the player did. And listen, Mitro's done that too. I'm not a big fan when Mitro embellishes. I'm not a fan of that, but I will call it out, and I'll call it out in this match, even if it's a Fulham player. In this case, it wasn't a Fulham player. But when we're looking at this, Yannis, it's hard because I thought Fulham played well, and here we are. We're focusing on 2 controversial calls that changed the match. That's the unfortunate part of this. like I said, it's also unfortunate for West Ham because they're going to be hearing about this. Congratulations to West Ham. They won the match. They did what they had to do to win the match. But unfortunately, we're going to be talking about this because we should be. We should be, yes. This is not sour grapes. This is part of the match that happened. If this happened the other way, if this happened with Fulham, we'd be talking about it too. You know,
and you know what? We've lost.
We're honest when it comes to that. If Fulham do something, we're honest too.
And we've lost 14 of the last 15 games against West Ham. You know, and as a player, become, what am I supposed to do? I mean, Marco Silva was going ballistic on the sidelines.
Yep.
And I know I looked at him today and going, oh my God, how many times have I done that? Especially when you know, because partially you're doing it to defend your players.
Right.
I said earlier that Pereira's going to get a bollocking at some point this week at training about
of course
what were you thinking? But he's got every right to say, now look, where did you get these decisions from? Even if I disagree with you on the offside, that's fine.
Yep. It's
touch his hand and it's touch his hand. I don't want to hear about intent. I don't want to hear about intent. I don't care about intent. I'm talking about what actually, not interpretation. I'm talking about what actually happened. And that's what we judge it on. And VAR is supposed to remove the subjectivity, any potential subjectivity from the ref. So when he doesn't see it, the linesman doesn't see it, and 7 scrubs sitting in a booth drinking coffee don't see it, what are we supposed to do? And it's not just, it is. It's been going on and on and on and on about, the VAR thing. But I think the technology is fine. I think it's the humans that get it wrong. It's the interpretation of what they see. You've got the camera angles, you've got the lines, you see everything. You've got the goal line, you've got everything there. But
you and I have said
intent was like, come on, let the players play.
Okay, and this goes back to what you and I have said, because VAR is going to be controversial for probably the end of time, all right? But you and I are on the same wavelength. Get the call right. But here's the thing. If you have the technology, interpret it correctly, get the call right. As you said, it might not be VAR that's making these decisions that make it worse. It's human decisions based off of VAR. So that, to me, that's why I think fans are so frustrated. It's like, well, we have the technology now, but there are still situations where we're talking about a human decision based on what they're watching. Now, I always go back to this. It's got to be clear and obvious to make a decision. That's why VAR is in place, Yannis. So if it's not clear and obvious, then VAR does not really have its place. It's got to be clear and obvious to change something or to have something stand. In any case, VAR should be used to make something clear and obvious. I think you would agree with me on that.
Yeah, and I want the right call, even if it's going to be against such. That's all I want.
Get the right call. That's all we care about.
Get the bloody right call. You can't tell me. No one out there can tell me that that's not handball. Bollocks. And I still maintain it was offside. And you're right. You raised a good point there earlier about, is it because it was wet spam at home? Well, it was Arsenal at home? And
I'm just saying, Yannis, because I'm a human being. Does that get involved in their decision? Listen, we talk about it here I'll use the sport like the NBA.
Oh,
you
NBA,
you get a lot of calls at home, and you actually have refs that are known as home team refs.
Yeah.
You hear it all the time. Why is that? Because one, they are afraid to make calls against the home team. It happens over and over again. It's hard. It's hard to make decisions, but this is a VAR decision with people in a room who should not be affected at all because they're not on site. But I'm asking the question, are they still influenced by the fact that it's the home team?
Yeah, that's a great point.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and
are they affected by it?
And I'm glad you mentioned the NBA because I think the NBA is the worst officiated professional league in the world.
It's the worst. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because I see it all the time.
Awful. Absolutely awful. If it was done properly, they'd be playing 2v2 at the end of the game. It's gruesome. You're
if
absolutely
people
right.
complain about VAR, you need to watch NBA. That's all.
Yeah, NBA's. It is. I mean, the Fulham fans sang their hearts out today, and you could,
Yes.
when it gets to the stage, I think you can. Sometimes you've got to look at a player's reaction, just to paint the picture of how the frustration the players are feeling.
Right.
Harrison Reed got booked for dissent. He'd had enough.
Right.
He walked off the field, and you didn't need to be a lip reader to know what he was saying along the lines of bollocks. What is this?
Okay.
Because the players go off because it grows on teams because then you wonder where the next crap call is going to come from.
Right.
And then you wonder why coaches like Silva lose their crap. Because listen, we lost 4-1 to Newcastle. One of my little dum-dums got a red card. We've been preparing for this game. We think we can get something out of it. 11v11, not 12 or 13v11. 11v11.
Right.
We've taken the lead, and then the whole thing has changed on a whim.
Just like that.
Just like that. And again, I'm not going to blame Pereira because you see this all the bloody time.
Okay.
So you can be
my only blame is maybe he should have been more cautious. I understand what you're saying, Yannis.
He's a young pup, but Dawson played. Give Dawson a bloody violin or give him a Stradivarius. He was playing for that all along.
Totally. I totally agree.
Fools. Harrison Reed isn't one of the most unvolatile players you'll ever see. I've ever seen in a Fulham shirt. If he's getting booked for dissent, what is that telling you?
Okay. Now, we are in agreement on that. Let's move on. So we have to talk about the end of the match. We'll talk about the third goal. Now, for me, I know that, and I've seen the comments here calling this goal given up pathetic. Now, here are my thoughts on it. First of all, it's the end of the match. I predicted 3-1 to West Ham. I'm not happy that I got it right. Was it, did it look stupid? Yes, it absolutely looks stupid. But are people, again, I'm thinking about this. We shouldn't feel embarrassed that they gave up a bad goal. They gave up a bad goal. It was the end of the match. They gave up a bad goal. I think maybe a little bit too much is going to be made of this third goal. It did look like, again, it looked terrible, but in the end, it's just a dumb goal to give up. That's all, Yannis. Your thoughts on the third goal? At that point, I'm like, whatever. And then, honestly, the most annoying part was watching the celebration afterwards.
Well, I wouldn't call it pathetic. I thought it was comical.
Comical would be comical. I mean, is a better way.
Players getting in each other's ways. We've tried to force the issue. We've not done a brilliant job of doing that, and that's frustrating in itself. I wouldn't mind any other player on the pitch scoring for them, but Mikel Antonio. Oh, godforsaken nonsense. Godforsaken nonsense. He's awful. He's awful. He's absolutely awful. End of this celebration. Yeah. You know what? You're gonna have you come to the cottage, and we'll be ready. That's fine. I mean, he's taken the goal. That's fine. It's not a 3-1 game.
No, it's definitely not. It actually flatters West Ham. Let's be honest here.
But it shouldn't light a fire under players. That Mitro's in the stands watching that. Yep. Tetty's watching that. Wilson got a little bit of playing time as well. Yeah. He's watching that. Well, and they can't. If Silva analyzes the film, he's going to have to say, okay, well, who played what? Who didn't play well today? And Paulinho was, I think, a little bit below par, but I think that's measuring up to his incredible standards. He missed the game through suspension. Yep. But I thought the starting 11 overall, I thought did very well. James didn't do a lot for me moving forward, although he did hit the crossbar, but he did do a good job in terms of tracking back. I thought Vinicius is going to get some stick. I thought Vinicius worked very hard. His first touch isn't quite there yet, but I thought he did okay. Yeah. He did more than okay. The thing that did annoy me, though, Kearney was brought on, and I thought Kearney does what Kearney does. He settles the game down, he calms it down, which is what he wants Silva to do. But then they brought Duffy on, and I didn't have a problem with that because
I didn't either.
No, you get Duffy up there and da-da-da. But then if you're going to bring Duffy up there, he's 6'4", 6'5", you got to get balls in the box and challenge. And there was this ridiculous situation where Tosin came on a run
Yeah.
on the right. I don't know what he was up to, and he ran the ball out.
He ran the ball out. I know.
Decadeva had peeled off, and I'm thinking, and he's yelling at Decadeva. Now, if I had been Decadeva, I'd have gone over and slapped him around the head. Really, what Tosin needs to do is take a look and just thump it in the box. Fabianski's not great on crosses. Just get it in the box. You never know what's going to happen.
Get as many balls in the box as
there
possible.
You go. And I thought that was naivety from the players. I think that they have to understand.
But I also think they don't usually play this way. And I
know,
also...
but they don't. But all of them will have played in it summer. They know they're a goal behind. They're away from home. We're bringing on a centre back who's brilliant in the air. Get balls in the box, and you just never know. So I thought we were a little bit naive there.
Okay.
And then they scored the third one, but they can celebrate all they want. I don't think they're very good. And I thought they were helped by excruciatingly poor officiating, supplemented by VAR. I don't know what the V stands for, but I know the AR stands for absolute rubbish. And in the end of the day, they can take their 3 points and shove it at the you-know-what. But I thought there were some good performances that we can take and get ready for
Yannis.
Friends next
totally
week.
Agree with you. And we're going to talk about that to end the show. Coming up next to end Cottage Talk, we're going to talk about man of the match and talk about some of the positive performances for Fulham. Okay, Yannis, let's finish this up because I know that we've focused so much on these two calls that changed the match, and we talked about really went throughout this entire match. But I'm glad that you already brought this up. We've already talked a little bit about the performances in this match. And normally I don't really look at a match when they lose and think about man of the match. But I want to here because, as you said, when you really look at it, how many bad performances were there? So who do you have as man of the match?
This is a struggle. I'm actually going to give it to Harrison Reed because I think, I think it's a pick'em. I think it's a pick'em between Pereira. Yes, I'm going to get laughter, but Pereira. I thought Naiskins did a decent job. I thought Timmy Ream at the back did a decent job. I think Robbo made a good return from injury. Leno made a couple of crucial saves. But I'm going to give it to Harrison because he is so bloody consistent. And the three of them in midfield with a slightly off-color Palhinha.
I was going to actually ask you about this. Let's actually dive into that a little bit, Yannis. Here's a player we have not mentioned the entire show. You and I talked about it before the match. This might be his worst match in a Fulham shirt so far.
Yeah, he looked a little...
Palhinha, and I'm his biggest fan.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I don't know if he was that great today.
Yeah, I think he was a couple of times he was dragged out of position and tried to be physical to get into position and it didn't work. But he's been our best player this year.
Oh, so he's stopped.
And he's allowed a game off and he's one of these self-assessing practitioners who will self-adjust. So next week he's going to be absolutely flying. I thought Harrison Reed was outrageous today. I think he is such an absolute bloody workhorse, and he is so critical to what we do. Silva's created a lovely little threesome there because Pereira has impressed the heck out of me and Palhinha, but Reed, better players make better players, and I think Reed has become a better player. I think that goal up at Forest would probably...
They all feed off of each other, Yannis.
Yes, they do.
It's really like a terrific threesome that I think needs each other. Yes,
I do. I think we need to tighten up a little bit defensively. I think at some point we're going to need to look... Silva's he's going to need to look at I think this is where you're going to see a couple of surprises coming.
Yeah.
The central twosome of Tosin and Ream. I now am of the opinion that it might be worth giving Diop a go.
Okay.
Because Tosin dominates in the air, but I'm still not so sure about his discipline and position, whereas I am with Ream, and he surprised all of us. I'd like to see Diop given a go. I thought he played well against Forest.
Yeah,
I agree. Why not? Give him a go. We're a centre-back, a quality centre-back short. But the system that we've got with Palhinha mopping up in front of the back four is working usually. Today, not so much. But how many chances did they create from open play?
Not a lot. Now,
Not a lot.
I do want to share this because I understand this point, but I don't know if you really look at it for this match. Trevor says leaking goals most matches not sustainable. But when you look at the 3 goals here, I don't know if we really want to judge the defensive performance off of these 3 goals. I agree we're giving up way too many goals, Yannis.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I'd even put last week's one as an aberration because first half we looked shell shocked by Chalobah's red card, and then we battled second half and we got a consolation goal. And
thank you, Trevor, by the way.
And never write off that goal by Decordova-Reid last week because 4-0 looks terrible. But 4-1, it is a defeat, but we got something back with 10 men.
Yep.
We're 3-2-4, so we're 9 games into the season. We've got 29 to go. We've got a long way to go. We've got the World Cup coming. We've got the transfer window, so there's a long way to go. We've got injuries. Don't care what anyone says. You look at the likes of Liverpool, quality side, but injuries out of their yin-yang, right? Look at a team like City, relatively healthy. You do need that element of luck. I'm not happy with the Serbian Football Federation, who played Mitro even though he had an injury for 2 useless, needless Nations League games. By the way, get rid of it. Don't see the point in it.
Yep.
Don't see the point in it. He played in both and he was injured. He could have been the key last week. He probably would have been the key this week, but that's another matter altogether. But once we get the injuries back, I think we're going to be okay.
I agree, Yannis.
We just have to learn. We have to learn our lessons that we're up against more savvy teams, and we just have to think a little bit more. And Pereira will learn. He's a young player. He will learn from that experience. It won't detract from his performance. I thought he played very well, and he scored a bit of a goal. So we're going to back off him. But we'll learn, and we've got who next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that, even though Scott Parker's not there. But my friend, I do want to wrap up the show. I want to end it this way because I'm glad that you've talked a little bit about this. You're going to start hearing talk like this, especially when Fulham come off, say, back-to-back losses or maybe even more than that. I actually think Fulham are going to win next week against Bournemouth. I'm already saying that right now. But this team that we're watching right now, even in defeat, let's go back 2 seasons ago and compare it to the team we have now. I think it's night and day, Yannis. I don't see us. I'm going to say it right now. I've said at the beginning of the season, I don't see Fulham in a relegation battle. I think when this thing all shakes out, Fulham are going to be comfortably mid-table. I truly believe that. And I think it's going to be sooner than later. We're taking our hits right now, but I think in the upcoming matches, if Fulham can get 2 or 3 victories, they're going to be in fantastic shape already before the second half of the season begins. So I just see a team that I think is actually going to be better in the second half of the season. I look forward to Fulham playing West Ham again. I look forward to Fulham playing Newcastle United again. I think everyone that Fulham has lost to so far, they're going to have a tougher match against Fulham again, and that includes Arsenal and Tottenham. So for me, even in a loss, I don't see anything changing my mind that Fulham will be mid-table. I'll leave you with that.
I mean, I'd rather. If we finish 17th this year,
I know you'd be happy with that.
I would. Silva's one of these. He strikes me as a student of the game. So the wins he remembers, the draws he'll remember and reflect on chances to win, and the losses he'll definitely remember.
Yep.
And he will look. He'll look at our 4 defeats this year. I know Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, 3 London teams, and what was the Newcastle. Right. So he will look at them, and certainly against Arsenal, Tottenham, we had opportunities. Against Newcastle, shot ourselves in the foot. And then today, But he'll use them as experiences and get us ready. Bournemouth are a different proposition right now under O'Neill.
Yep.
They're playing well, and they're tough to beat right now. I've got to give them credit because everybody marked them as favourites to finish bottom, and they're proving everybody wrong. I think we'll beat them. I think it'll be a tight game.
Yep.
But I do think that we, as we grow as a team, we've got to learn from our little mistakes.
Right.
And that'll season us a little bit. And with better players coming back means our bench becomes stronger. And that's where
Exactly.
right now you look at West Ham and then you look at ours and you go, oh, mother.
Just remember who is coming back. Harry Wilson now being back, I think, is massive. Obviously, Mitro is going to be back. Kenny
Tete is a
Tete
huge one.
is a huge loss. I hate to
Huge
go
one.
there. So I've said this, Fulham's starting 11 can compete with anyone except for maybe Man City. So for me, I think that we're going to be fine, and I'm not going to change my mind. Anyways, Yannis, I do want to wrap up this show. Boy, time does fly by. We went almost an hour. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hurrah! Hurrah! Yeah, that's all I can do last week. I was umpiring a super elite final in Waterloo. It's about 60, 70 clicks, and it was a great, lovely day. Lovely day. Okay. It was an entertaining game today, and we played our part. Played our part. It just feels like technology and officiating played the biggest part, and that's something that disappoints me as a fan. You want to see it was a good game,
too, my
just
friend,
spoiled by maybe people that need to, book appointments to the opticians first thing tomorrow. Open at 9.
Okay, good stuff. All right. Before we go, as I always say, please do subscribe on YouTube. And one last time, and I'll probably keep mentioning this, Cottage Talk is now part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. For Yannis and Russ Goldman, thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk.